You cannot learn a thing you think you know.
Okay, hello guys, it's Mikefield here, and we are going to overview a tier list, which is done in the collaboration with CloakedGoliath, CyberLad, and also edited by
the local man.
So, we have CloakedGoliath here.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm the CloakedGoliath. I stream Darkest Dungeon on Twitch every day. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, we have Sis as well.
Hello everybody, I'm just Sis, and Plague Doctor is my wife.
Lovely. And the editing will be done as OmniPeasant, as I said. Let's just jump to the tiers. So we'll be discussing the tier list of Darkest Dungeon, which is Circus. And the makeshift division that we've done is as follows. So S tier is
a zealous warrior,
extremely powerful and irreplaceable in their role. A plus is very strong and reliable above average. A tier is going to be just strong, reliable character. B plus is strong but with some major weaknesses that can be easily exploited. And B, situational and fairly weak. And finally C, if we rank a character as C, it's going to mean that it's just
useless.
Okay, so we'll just go over all the tiers in the Bush's Circus, and we'll see where exactly those characters rank. We're all Darkest tier players. We've all been Darkest 1 for at least some period of time, I believe. So we'll just, I think we know what we're talking about more or less. So let's just get to the tier list itself. So we shall start with the Highwayman, guys. What do you think?
The brigands are undone. I remember days when the sun shone. I was interrupted.
No, you can go, I'm sorry.
And laughter could be heard from the tavern.
So, right off the bat, I'm thinking he's one of these kind of characters where he's not as bad as something like the Musketeer or the Plague Doctor, but realistically, have you seen him in any kind of strategy other than a riposte strategy?
Personally, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Goliath.
Personally, I've seen him in just straight up burst comps. He's a very powerful character, especially after you activate Vendetta. His riposte damage skyrockets, and he becomes a main threat, including his finishing ability with his positional stab. What is it? The one that enhances 20% death blow. He's a very big threat. And he actually has some stress utility too. I've seen him every once in a while. People equip him with stress trinkets and just fire off the grape shot. And it does a surprising amount of stress.
Yeah. I've actually only seen it once so far over the span of 2 months. But I really think that he's kind of this universal character though. So since we have so much AoE in the meta right now, like, people run Houndmasters, Shieldbreakers, also Jesters, right? So all those characters that can hit multiple ranks at once. Antiquarians too. I think he can kind of work a lot, can paralyze a lot of the stress comps and, DOT comps as well. So you have to kind of take this into consideration. But he's not really that strong other than that. Like if you just, get this, straight up damage composition against the Highwayman, I guess he just gets run over, doesn't he?
I'm just not scared of him at all whenever I'm against him. It seems his only real offensive utility is in fact that riposte defensive utility. And obviously if you're going a Houndmaster or Antiquarian AoE style spam, you're probably going to get hit by quite a lot. But then again, you can work around that with your heals. Maybe you can stun him before you do that.
Yeah.
I don't see how he's stronger than, let's say, a Graverobber in that kind of burst damage roll. So they both have that kind of movement forward.
Right, sure. So how would you rank him, guys? What do you think? How do you feel?
Slumped shoulders, wild eyes, and a stumbling gait. This one is no more good to us. B.
Okay, Goliath?
I'd give him a B+. With a certain combination of trinkets, you can make him very resistant to stun, as well as still keeping most of his damage there. I would definitely say he's a B+. He's a very good attacker.
Okay, I actually agree with you. I feel like he's B+, right? Because he can actually work in a lot of those situations. Since I think he's quite versatile in the current meta. We have this bunch of AoE, and people just spamming those Hound Harrys and Festering Vapors. I think he can actually be a B+ at least. And definitely there are characters who are at least 2 tiers below him as well, I feel.
Yeah.
So he's in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, he's pretty middle of the pack. He's very good at what he does, but he doesn't have anything to sustain himself. Like he will go down in an extended fight.
I agree.
I'm just not entirely sure he does too much. I think that's why I said B.
Yeah. But he has also this reliable execute, right? You run finisher on him, he really kills everything he targets.
And
So does Bounty Hunter, so does Jester, Graverobber,
Yeah,
even Holy Lance.
His point blank shot has a 30% increase chance to kill.
Also that, right? So if you target the front rank, it's actually quite reliable. And the Wicked Slice also just does, the first 2 ranks can get executed very quickly by him. Alright, jumping forward to the Jester now, guys. How do you feel about the Jester?
This man twisted and maniacal. You must be ready.
I have a lot to say about the Jester.
Come on, Triple S, we all know it.
I think Jester, you have to put him up high because he does so much in the offensive role. He can bypass Death's Door, which is an absolute godsend. He has very high chance to kill if you give him a finisher trinket. Probably just due to lucky rolls, but he consistently, first try kills people with Dirk Stab. Yeah, Dirk Stab, he's the king killer. I mean, come on.
Yeah. You put a finisher on the Jester, it really smashes people. Just with the Dirk Stab even, you can just save the finale. So he's constant threat as well, right? Because if you let him slip for like a single 10, if you don't consider him and his possible movement around the board on a single 10, like in a single move, you can just literally turn the fight around.
The thing that makes Jester perhaps in a tier of his own alongside maybe Arbalest is that he is almost single-handedly the only character that dictates the pace of the game. If you don't watch him, his finale buff will tick, 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 and he will just kill one of your people from full health. It does not matter. Who else, when you see him against you, you just go, oh dear, what am I doing here? I need to always focus him.
I agree, yeah.
Also the Ballad... Right, the Ballad is a huge buff. Like, if you go against any sort of dodge composition, like semi-dodge, or if you're those less reliable attackers, like, for instance, the Houndmaster, the Flagellant, right, you can actually bring them in line with all the other characters. So he's this huge Leper as well, right? He's this huge power to empower those slightly weaker characters, perhaps, like, accuracy-wise anyway, into those very, very reliable damage dealers.
And even if you're against people with 20, 30 dodge, not like a dodge comp per se, if you take him, you've got people that Hound's Harry's 85% base. Then if you've got a nice trinket, it gets up to 100. If you pop that, they're kind of the innate kind of benefit they get from playing something like an Antiquarian, that little bit of dodge, it's just completely negated.
Indeed. All right, so how do you guys rank him? What do you feel? How do you feel about the Jester?
This man is knit.
S, I agree.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to agree with this. Definitely an S. Yeah, he is the S tier for sure.
Another thing is his dots, his
Harvest,
Harvest and Mortal Wound. People don't use them a lot, but they have a lot of utility. Being able to lower someone's death blow resist by 20% per hit and inflicting bleed, that's a godsend against those high protection comps. That's a direct counter.
I'm starting to see him used an awful lot more in kind of control styles, where you will start off with Harvest, and instead of going for that first kill with a finale, you'll try and get a Dirk Stab, and then you'll save that finale until maybe turn 7, when it's really getting towards the edge where you really need an advantage. Bang! 3 versus 2 is so much more impactful than 4 versus 3, especially if you've got stuns on your team.
Yep.
Cool. Lovely, guys. Moving on then, we have our Man-at-Arms, the powerhouse of all the stress comps, the unkillable god of death, the yelling old man. How do you feel about the MAA, guys?
A champion boogeyman.
He's a piece of garbage, but I understand.
He's the menace.
How powerful he is.
Guys.
He's can you put him above Jester here? Just give him his own tier.
I think he's
if Arbalest didn't exist.
Yeah, I feel like the MAA is what Jester is, for MAA for the stress comps is what Jester is for the damage dealing comps. He just is this solid basis for every single stress composition. He empowers everything that they do. He lowers the damage that everybody takes. He has this quite reliable, stress-wise skills. He has the guards, he's this protector for those teams. He can turn a lot of things around as well. Very reliable character, I feel.
His card also buffs damage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
God.
Yep.
Riposte as well, some comps use him for riposte, right? Also, this sometimes overlooked command buff that actually gives you accuracy. So if you a stress comp...
and damage.
Yeah, I think it's especially the accuracy when you are a stress comp, right? You really want to have this extra accuracy for the Houndmaster, for instance. If you go against comp that has heavy dodge, this really saves you sometimes.
Yeah, no, his utility is incredible. He has high stats, very high resistances. He has 70% base stun.
Yeah, crazy.
Truly insane.
Who has that?
Nobody.
It's ridiculous how
You
powerful.
literally cannot get that on the Jester, even if you put double stun resist triggers on.
He's so good. Yeah, S
Crazy
tier
good.
from me.
Yeah.
I don't think he's S tier. I think he's A+. And I'll tell you why really quickly. Arbalest exists.
Okay, that's
Abomination exists. That countesses their guard an awful lot.
Crusader
exists.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Vestal, SB
if he was in a vacuum, he would be S.
Huh.
But
Yes.
A+, I have to think.
Well, I argue S because he's still, even in those circumstances, you know, we can have armor piercing on, we can have dots, we can have stuns, we can have clear debuff. He's still commanding so much space because that's not the only thing he does. While he's also accumulating stress on your characters as he's debuffing you. He's dazing people with the right trinkets as he's getting riposte up. He's buffing his team as he's defending. He synergizes with himself. And I think that's why he deserves S tier. He's so damn good.
Go ahead, Sis.
I would have agreed with you during the beginning of the game, but I think as we're starting to see this meta shift a little bit more, we're against an awful lot of DOTs. And I think DOTs in particular really take Man-at-Arms down. And also, it's just that when we look at these tier lists, we have to kind of think, we have to rank them against each other as well. I don't think he's on the same tier as your Arbalest or your Jester. Do you really think that? There's just kind of a weird disconnect to me where I think he doesn't. He's easily counterable. He's so easily counterable. And S tier, you know what I mean? S tier are on their own. If someone in S tier can get countered, is he really S tier?
I think. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I argue that Man-at-Arms, he can definitely hold his own. It's like an antiquarian level of clutch. He has a lot of defensive stats. His defensive stats are very high. His offense is incredible. Have you seen riposte? Even without the trinket, his riposte does some incredible damage.
It shreds.
It's got a good crit modifier too, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty insane actually. And he's Yeah, I've actually seen him in those compositions that just do damage. Like, he's just this solid front line sometimes. Not many people use him, but I've actually seen this happen quite a few times where he just runs with, those dot comms or just straight up damage comms, and he just, just does the riposte and relies on it and just supports the rest of the pack. So
I think something none of us have mentioned either is the fact that, especially in a stress comp, you can kind of just blob him in on any of the 4 spots.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be in the first one.
You can't push him. You can't push him.
That's so important.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I agree.
So
yeah,
he might be S actually. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think something A+, but
I think he's so versatile. I'll definitely put him in S. Though the thing is, Bellow doesn't lower the damage over time, right? That's the only thing that could make him even more powerful. That if the minus damage buff were to actually buff debuff the dots as well, that would be crazy good.
That would be.
Yeah,
but as it stands right now, he's definitely someone on the field you want to keep an eye on. He's definitely someone you want to keep in check, and you have to play around Man-at-Arms. I feel like he deserves S tier, but that's just my
optimization too.
Yeah, also
insane trinkets.
Yes,
he is always the last man standing in those fights. He can actually solo win like a 1v3 easily sometimes when people are heavily afflicted. So
he will be shouts his orders still at the end.
As well, you can actually keep him in the 4th rank, and it's super difficult to reach him for most characters. You have to run double, Arbalest Musketeer with Mark to actually kill him easily. And I think he's too versatile not to be S, really.
I think here we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah,
I think I'm starting to see a pattern arising. I think I might be ranking them all a little lower than you guys are.
Sure, we'll see. How do people think? Sis, how do you feel about GR? What do you play as the GR?
Fragile, like a robin's egg, and more destructive than 100 cannons.
So I've got her in B, but considering Highwayman is B+, I think GR should also be B+. Then she has really, really good utility. The thing that I just don't like about her is her Toxin Trickery, the thing that cures Blight and Bleed, doesn't even heal 1 health. And she doesn't have a trinket to make it heal 1 health.
Yeah, so, it should. It should.
Man, I'm so in love with the GR though. Because I'm using her in this stun composition with Vestal Crusader, and she's really shredding people with the lunges. But
I think... I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it depends on... Like, there's multiple ways to play Grave Robber. You can definitely give her like stress trinkets and make her a very good stress dealer. Her panic darts can bring someone from 0 to 100 in like record time. It
does 60 damage. You can get trinkets on it to make it do 88 damage.
Yeah, exactly. She does so much stress damage.
It does require 2-turn setup though. You need to be in the right position to shadow fade, and that is a wasted turn, especially early on tempo wise. You hate to be doing that.
I doubles your damage, right? It gives you crits as well. So it's actually, if you don't cleanse it, it's an extra 10 for her.
Also, if you don't, if you have the right trinket on her, you can bypass guard while she's invisible.
Yeah, that is insane. I do love that.
Combine that with the current meta and how people rely on man-at-arms to always guard the person that's about to die. It's a free kill regardless, because people don't know Cloak and Dagger pierces guard.
Like bonus death door, she actually kills very easily as well if she's stealthed, right? So if you're on death's door, like she will always kill you, really. And I do run the finish on her as well, so it's almost like the BA tree. In fact, I feel like she's super strong.
I'd argue she's the more mobile version of Bounty Hunter.
Indeed, yeah.
No,
but way less sturdy though.
The
BH is way sturdier though. He's like super sturdy compared to her. And he has also a ton of movement, right? Which she just doesn't have at all. She's just pure damage. She's like squishy, pure damage character, though.
Well,
You're being paid up by the Grave Robber gang, boy.
Listen, hear me out. She trades in her tankiness. She doesn't have a lot of health nor protection, but her dodge is incredible. And the fact that her stealth buffs dodge, a lot of her items, do give her a little bit of dodge. It makes it a lot harder to actually hit her. And I'd argue in this circumstance, having more dodge is better than having more health or a little more protection.
But let me put it this way. If you are taking a damage comp, why would you take Grave Robber over Jester?
AoE. I need AoE damage.
I would take both. I would take both of them.
Well, Harvest is good. No, it's very good. But if you stealth, if you fade away into dual daggers, you bring 2 units that are, if they're potentially already damaged, you bring them to death's door. Combine that with another DPS bringing frontline low.
Yep.
Unless they have a Vestal, they have to pick who lives and who dies next turn. And that's what I usually try and go for, is trying to pick, let the enemy decide who dies and who they want to save.
That's what Harvest does, but Harvest can't be protected.
Harvest has very low accuracy, though. Harvest has ridiculously low accuracy.
Yeah, but another thing, though, is Grave Robber's trinkets are all very good. Jesters aren't, basically.
Yeah,
so Jester is in a space where you can kind of put Hemlock on him and feel good about that. And with Grave Robber, if you put Hemlock on her, you're going to be missing out on
you're right.
guard thing or something like that.
Okay, time to rank, guys. Time to rank her, I think.
I'd say A.
Right. I
think B+.
I also think B+ still. Like, even though I'm using her, I think like she's way too squishy. And she has terrible resistances, except for Blight Res. Like, she's really, really bad at that. Whatever comes her way, she just, takes all the stuns, all the movements. She's also like, it's so easy to distort if you know what you're doing. Like, if you see a Grave Robber in third position at the start of the fight, just move somebody, make her move to the second or to the first, and suddenly she just doesn't do anything because the pick to the face just doesn't do that much damage. Launch has 140% base damage for just using it once. And yeah, I feel like she's very easy to be distorted. People know how to abuse her as well right now. So,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Yeah,
no complaints here.
That's gonna be a tough one. So I think Goliath deserves to talk about the big boy Leper here.
Let's go, baby. Listen, in my heart, he's like S+++++. But and to respect everybody, I understand he has some very, very big, glaring weaknesses that can't be ignored.
The poor rotted man. I fear a small push will invariably lead to defeat.
It's like the opposite of the Plague Doctor, then.
Yeah. His power is like off the charts. Very powerful character. People argue accuracy is one of his biggest downfalls, but there's so many ways to boost accuracy on Leper. Trinkets, revenge, battle ballad, musketeers, AoE shot. There's so many ways to buff accuracy with him, and even with none of those there, you can still just purge and buff his accuracy up that way. It does the same damage. It's not AoE, but it does the same damage, and it knocks people back.
Indeed.
He's just bad, bro. He's just bad. I'm sorry, dude.
No, listen.
He's not a good guy.
Listen. He has one of the highest HP values out of everyone in Butcher Circus right now, sitting at like what 44, 40. I think it gets up to 48 sometimes.
Yep.
Up to 48 HP, which is like absolutely ridiculous, dude. Have you seen many other characters that have that much with base 10% protection, flat 50% stun resist, 60% move resist? Come on, dude.
His base values are insane.
He has his debuff and his bleed blight need some help, but he has so much health. Unless you're doing pure dots, you don't really have to worry about dots. Okay, the fact that he can heal himself as well. I'm sorry, Mike. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Less of weaknesses, perhaps, because it's just extolling his vanishes, but there are some really huge weaknesses for
everyone knows.
So the first thing I feel about the Leper is that his damage is not that reliable, right? So when you look at the bracket, like the damage bracket for the Leper, it's like 11 to 22 for me when I have like character sheet open. And this means like you can get like, it's very difficult to predict how much damage he's actually going to deal. So that's one of the things. I've been playing Leper extensively with your composition, and I know it's a very strong comp. But really using the Leper and just, using the hue, you basically roll the dice, and there is no way of telling how much damage you're going to do, whether you're going to crit or not. It's like kind of, I feel like it's way too unreliable to say he's, he's just this kind of powerhouse, really.
We can
No, you're, sorry, sis.
No, respond.
I was just going to say that's why you proc for revenge, giving him an extra third of damage. You buff his damage up to like,
and your effective health pool is reduced by a third.
Yeah,
you skip a turn.
That is true. You skip a turn, but that's why you usually do it on turn 1 when everyone's still setting things up. The way I built that comp around him, I agree. He does have some very big weaknesses, but the way I built the comp around him, turn 1, he's already, everything's ready to go. By the end of it, he's going to be doing some very big damage, and by turn 3, if someone's not on death's door, then that other team has a really good defensive comp because his damage output it's very, very high.
The most telling part about that was you said my comp,
but it is
Leper needs to be put in like a specific comp that entirely revolves around him.
Indeed.
And even then, he doesn't shine. He doesn't even shine there.
He does shine, but not necessarily, depending on the matchup, right? Because there's like a lot of rock, paper, scissors going on in the Circus. I feel like the Leper has if Leper is a rock, there's like a lot of paper in it. And there are like quite a few compositions that just abuse him really hard.
I don't think every game is rock, paper, scissors. I think some games are rock, paper, scissors. When you've got kind of a comp that you can be moved around, when you've got a comp with like one blatant weakness, then of course, but Leper enforces that blatant weakness. You're kind of giving yourself a rock.
Yeah. Right, it's kind of difficult to tell where to put him, right? I used to put him in C. I do believe he doesn't deserve the C. I think he's like way better than C. But at the same time, okay, how do you feel Goliath? Where would you put him if you were like to objectively judge where he stands?
Objectively, I'd say first I have to establish like what his role is. Sorry about that. So his role, he's a frontline damage dealer. That's what he does best. Secondary role, he's good at moving targets. Well, no, that's not all he does. He's
you compare to the first stuff,
Well, like I said, he does a lot of damage. He moves enemies fairly consistently with 110 accuracy purge move that also buffs his accuracy. He can sustain himself very well with solemnity, which to have half of your HP back or all of your HP on a crit back absolutely changes the game. I've not all the time, but I've won some games just because I've had Solemnity. I agree with you guys. He isn't the perfect character. He can't take on the world like a man at arms can. But I definitely think he does his job well.
Who's he better than? What characters is he better than?
I'd say he's better than Hellion, who occupies the same position. She's also what you would consider a frontline damage dealer. So this one's kind of shaky because they somewhat occupy the same space, but
he's way better.
Crusader's more of a utility. People play Crusader more utilitarian-wise, I'm sorry. They play them with more utility, like stun, focused on heals. Yeah. Maybe the Zealous Accusation every once in a while. I still consider him to be more direct. But, it's not just like rock, paper, scissors, like Sis said. There's a lot of different combinations you can do, and some work better than others. So I'd say he'd be B plus, B, somewhere around
B plus. No, come on. I'll give you B. I'd a push. I'd a B at a push.
Oh no! I
feel like I'm haggling with you.
He's B plus. I'd definitely say he's B plus at the very least. I played a ton. I played a ton of Leper over the past 2 weeks and a half. And I have to tell you, really, he can shine if you let him live. And there are not so many movement comps in the meta right now. So if you consider like the current existing meta, if you look at how many abominations there are in your games, you have a look at how many BHs are in your games that actually use the push, there are not so many. And unless you bump into those two guys, or unless you bump into a Leper, or if you bump into a player who actually knows how to play against the Leper, using the Vestal, for instance, the stun, right? So I think that Leper can actually do so much. Like, if a Leper is left unchecked for 2 or 3 turns, just like Goliath said, he shreds people way more than anybody else in the game.
Agreed.
This is a bit of a weird thing to say, but do you see the kind of similarities between Abomination and Leper? And they've both got a knockback, they've both got the self-heal, they both have Rake, and they both have that high single target damage thing.
Yeah.
Well, Abomination doesn't have self-sustained, nor...
Yes, he does. When human form.
Absolution. You're right. Absolution. Yeah. It's a toned down version of it. But the way people play Abomination is more stress or displacement oriented, not just for raw damage. I seldom see Rake being used anymore. I mean, in the beginning, I've seen a lot of Rake or Rage, but nowadays I see a lot more of the stun, the riposte move, and just transformation spam.
I think perhaps just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. Rake even has like an innate revenge ability.
I mean, yeah, you're right. But I play a lot of Darkest Dungeon. Like I stream it.
We all do.
No, you're right. But yeah, in my experience, I should say I don't see him used much in the DPS aspect.
Yeah. Okay, I'd say B plus. Let's vote. Let's just cast votes, guys. So B plus for me for the Leper.
Well, it's B plus, and you're both going B plus. I do think it's a B. I'll give you it. You've convinced me that he is good, but I still think he's too insular. You can only use him in very specific comps, and then build around him.
Yeah, but he really works in those comps, right?
I don't think that makes him B plus.
I think it actually works very well in a lot of those comps, though. So what we said is strong.
Situational.
Okay, let's look at the tier list.
But he's not weak.
B plus, guys. B plus.
He's weak if he's not in his situation.
Okay, so B plus. Strong but with some major weaknesses. B, situational and fairly weak. I don't think he's fairly weak. I think he has major weaknesses, but he definitely deserves B plus. Because he actually has some really pronounced strengths to himself. It may sometimes, or most of the time, outweigh the weaknesses.
I'm getting the Plague Doctor in B then. Plague Doctor's going in B.
Oh, no. Or we have to vote on this. Right, so I would say B plus for sure for the Leper.
Yeah, B plus. Go for it.
I agree. Yeah, B plus.
Sure. Shieldbreaker.
Cornered, trapped, some may fall, but this woman may find victory.
Oh my god, this one is freaking
This is so
maniac.
difficult. It's difficult for me to even put him in a tier.
Yeah, same here. So I've been playing Shieldbreaker, on and off, but I don't really like her myself. But I see her used to such huge effect in some games. She can really distort the fights. She can be very reliable in terms of how much she dodges, how long she stays alive. She's always or very often she's the last woman standing. If you run this high dodge setup on her and trinkets, she has high darts. She has reliable movement. She's super squishy though. If you don't really if you miss a single beat in a fight, she'll just die on you, right? So How do you guys feel about her? Because I mostly see her used against me rather than used by me, really.
Yeah,
So
I've started to see her an awful lot less. Maybe just because she's like a DLC character, but I think I'd probably say she's B+, bordering on an A, and that's only because dodge in itself is kind of an unreliable thing. But she's just insane to be. The way she kind of dances, she's almost got a rotation where she pulls someone in, she can expose someone, she can do an AoE like blight on people, put a finisher on her, and she's almost insane, especially with her double block ability.
Yeah, so she usually stays alive. You put the finisher on her and she just doesn't die with the finisher like most of the other characters, right? She just stays alive and finishes people reliably.
I say she's very good at supporting other characters. Her move puts people out of position, also brings people back into position. Her what is it called? Expose. If the debuff hits, it's a plus 20% chance to crit on that person, which is one of the strongest crit buffs in the game. If you ask me, she has some very good moves with her shield that enables 2 full blocks. Finale can't bypass the block, so that in and of itself is a testament to how strong Shieldbreaker can be. However, she is very squishy. You don't even have to power up a high damage character to be able to bring her to Death's Door in like 1 turn. If you build her for dodge, you don't even need to spec her for damage because her utility is just really damn good. She can blight, she can enable crits, she can displace enemies, all while avoiding being hit.
Yeah, she has
she works.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. She also works in almost every position. She can do her puncture from every position.
Into every position as well. Break the guard, right, as well.
Agreed, yes.
I think even if she didn't have that ability to dance around the team, she would still be quite a powerful character. But the fact that she's one of only 3 characters that can move herself backwards, apart from shots, it's truly insane. That is kind of so important, especially if you are going to take something like a Leper or a Crusader without movement resist.
Displacing enemies and not having an answer for it or like not having an answer for your team being displaced is like the worst feeling in the world. You lose all your power, and I honestly think that she deserves A because she's good. She's weak, but she's good, and weak in the aspect of like not very able to take a hit.
Yeah, her damage is also very high, right? She can actually burst people quite quickly. She's reliable blight, AoE blight. She fits into a lot of compositions with that.
Expose removes stealth as well, right? I'm pretty sure there's extra tech.
Exactly. Yeah, Expose does. I think.
And it's stress too. She's just full of tech. She's one of these kind of tech.
Yeah. She's very good support, is what she does best.
Super fragile, but very versatile at the same time, right? So if you put in the right hands, she can really shred.
I do love she promotes thinking.
Right, you just need to be able to see the openings that she has if you play against her as well, because you need to kind of predict what she's going to do. So in this regard, I think she kind of works a little bit like the Jester, this Jester effect, where you have to keep thinking about her in the fight, because if you just ignore her for a single move again, you're usually screwed really hard.
Right.
Well, I think that is, you can't, with her high dodge, this makes her one of the most annoying characters to go against, is that if you don't ignore her and you try to counter her, she can block you, she can disappear to the back, she can move out of where you can hit her. She's just annoying. And you need to think when playing her and against her. It's just good design, I think.
Indeed. So, ranks, how do you guys feel? Sis, start now. You haven't actually proposed your rank first for a while, so go ahead. How do you feel?
I think I'm going to go for an A here, I think she's more universal than the B+ tiers, and I think she has just full of tech.
Yeah, she has a lot of synergy. I agree with Sis.
Same. Yeah, I also feel she's an A. Excellent. Now let's move to our favorite, I think, the Arbalest.
Look, we all know. We all know.
We all know.
She is their queen.
Do I just drag her down here and we don't say a word?
We know. If you don't bring Arbalest, you're already at a disadvantage.
And she works so well against so many different things, like stuns, the bellows, any sort of debuffs, really. She's super mobile, she has the healing, she can cleanse the bleed. Like,
her knowledge of brutal bloodletting impressed me greatly.
All those things extremely high burst damage as well on the Markoms. Like you put her and the BH on a single team, you mark, you shoot, you. Guys, this is it for the first part of the tier list. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Stay tuned for more.
I require a singular like.
Remember, all the links for our socials are provided in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, remember to follow me on Twitch, subscribe to me on YouTube, follow Goliath on Twitch as well, and also go to OmniPeasant and give his meme channel some love. Thank you guys so much. See you around.